In this WrestleTalk news, Paige announces that she's leaving WWE, Smackdown's future on Fox has been revealed in the face of dwindling ratings, my review of Smackdown, and Tempest is going to be here reviewing AEW Rampage, so subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
Happy Saturday, folks. Pete is off, our editor is off, so it's me writing the theme tune, singing the theme tune today. I'm thrilled. I'm sorry if it's all broken. Anywho, apparently wrestling news happens on Saturday. Who knew? And boy howdy, was there a very big revelation overnight. Because out of the blue, Paige took to Twitter to announce her imminent departure from WWE. She tweeted, "Thank you WWE," adding, "Paige here. July 7th will be my last day with WWE. I'm so thankful and I appreciate the opportunities the company has given me." She thanked them for taking a chance on someone who didn't look like a typical diva and for keeping her in the company even while she was unable to compete due to her neck injury. And she closed it all out by saying, "FYI, I'm not saying I'll never be in the ring. That day will most certainly come again, wherever the return may be." And this draws to a close quite the era for Paige, who has been in the WWE system since 2011 when she joined Florida Championship Wrestling, the kind of precursor to NXT. Then in NXT she won the championship before winning the Divas title from AJ Lee in a historic upset on her main roster debut. Neck injury sadly sidelined her a few years later, but over the years she then worked a variety of other roles within the company, including the general manager of Smackdown and hosting duties on WWE Backstage. Paige had been postulating that she could return to in-ring action after both Bryan Danielson and Edge made their returns following similar injuries, and many assumed that that would be under the WWE umbrella. But it's not like she doesn't have things going on outside of wrestling, because outside of wrestling, Paige has found success streaming on Twitch and also has a coffee brand, which is kind of a necessary evil when you stream on Twitch now, I guess. Gotta stay awake for 12 hours at a time. Now, just before we get into the review of Smackdown, let's talk about the future of the Blue brand, which has been struggling in the ratings department recently, including posting the lowest figure in almost a year in mid-May. Fortunately, that doesn't seem to have dampened broadcaster Fox's spirits on the product, as they put out a press release that listed the show as ongoing for the 2022-23 season and that they see the show as a ratings victory. WWE and Fox initially came to terms on a 5-year deal in May 2018, so we are now in the closing stretch of that.
Visit WrestleShop.com every day for the most stupendous in wrestling merchandise. WrestleShop.com, wrestling merch for grown-ups.
So Smacky D kicked off with a hard-hitting contest between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus for a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match where you can win the briefcase, which has an 85% chance of success when cashed in. As ever, Drew not only has to contend with Sheamus, but Scrappy Doo, Butch, as well, literally having to shove him out of the way so he can make his entrance and consistently being distracted by him during the match. Sheamus and Drew absolutely nailed this though. It really felt like they went out of their way to beat the brakes off each other and did the ultimate disrespect of stealing each other's moves. Naughty, naughty, including Shamey hitting a Future Shock DDT and Drew opting for an avalanche white noise at one point. Eventually though, the animosity got the better of both men and they managed to double DQ themselves with a twin chair shot, meaning that neither man goes into the Money in the Bank match and neither man gets the chance to win the briefcase with the 85% chance of success. The fact that WWE clearly just worked out the amount that they mentioned it. Drew and Sheamus were even still brawling when the show came back from the break and had to be dragged apart in the crowd. I love this, I thought it was great. We then got a recap of Cody Rhodes' Hell in a Cell victory and subsequent write-off on Monday's Raw, with Michael Cole saying he was going to be out of action for 9 months. Ouch. Back in time for WrestleMania though. Up next, Lacey Evans took on Xia Li for a Money in the Bank ladder match spot, which is 85% successful 100% of the time. Li took a lot in the early going before running right into the women's right, which is still 85% rubbish 200% of the time. Does that make sense? That actually makes it good. I've done the maths wrong there, who cares? For my money, Xia Li is just a far more interesting performer than Evans, and I feel like she would have much more to give in the ladder match, but hey ho! She wasn't a Marine. Drew then visited Adam Pearce to demand 100% of a spot in the ladder match, which seemed about 85% unsuccessful. Then Ronda Rousey arrived, we went to commercial, we had a promo spot for the Viking Raiders, Sheamus came back to ask for his spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match, Rousey was still arriving, we then got a recap of Natalya winning the opportunity to face Ronda at Money in the Bank, Ronda was still arriving, what on earth is this running order? So Rousey starts cutting this promo saying that her armbar is great and Natalya's sharpshooter is rubbish, before Shotzi interrupts and says if Ronda really is the baddest woman on the planet, she wouldn't mind a match right now, and to be fair, She didn't. So this becomes a championship contenders match, so if Shotzi wins, she gets a title shot, and she goes hard after the opportunity. Shotzi aggressively works over Ronda's arm, hitting some devastating looking offense, including a tornado DDT to the floor and a picture-perfect head kick. But Rousey obviously eventually fires up, nailing the baddest slam, Piper's Pit, and armbar in quick succession for the victory, only to be jumped from behind by Natalya, who lays in her frankly rubbish sharpshooter until officials drag her off. It is worth noting that Ronda did scream in pain, but she didn't tap or quit. This added a little bit of spice to a match that I am overall not really fussed about, but after the contest here, I would much rather see Rousey and Shotzi go at it again. Before we crack on with the rest of the episode, we just need to thank Ron Turner and the roller coaster Robert Acosta for their support on Patreon. We then jump from all of that to a backstage interview that opens with a brutal attack on Friday Night Smackdown. Anyway, here's the wrestling Paulie Shaw, as Riddle cut this promo for his upcoming match. After that, Gunther comes out for his Intercontinental title opportunity against Ricochet, but not before we go to a break. Here's something about Corbin and Carmella. I don't know, they were going to be somewhere at some point. And then we got a recap of Rousey, which had just happened, and an update saying that she has suffered a serious injury which she's refusing to get iced for. Pacing. Thankfully, Gunther's still making his entrance. The match with Ricochet, though, while definitely feeling like a foregone conclusion, did do enough to sell the idea that Rick might be retaining his title. Because Rick's flippy style perfectly countered some of Gunther's attempts to just chuck him about the place, landing on his feet more often than not, but a well-placed chop or a vicious lariat was always enough to turn the smaller man inside out. This was overall a really fun match, and you got the crowd fired up with NXT chants at some points, but after a rapid run of offense from Ricochet, Gunther cut him off with a dropkick and nailed him with a powerbomb to become the new IC champ. Now, I do feel bad for Ricochet, but there is not much arguing with Gunther's momentum and the fact that the IC title has traditionally worked really well for the foreign heel, so I am behind the decision here. More than behind the decision. I'm in front of it. For the main course, Riddle takes on Sami Zayn, and if Riddle wins, he gets Roman Reigns next week, and if he loses, he leaves SmackDown for good. Huge stakes. But first, let us find out about Madcap and Happy Corbin having a last laugh match. What in the hell? Like, no one even knows what that is. Pacing. And I mean, it's safe to say that the stakes never really came across in this match. Beyond one near countout, it never really truly felt like Riddle was on his last legs and close to losing his job. And I think when you consider the fact that the Bloodline have near constant shenanigans in most matches, it felt like this would have been the place to use them to up the drama and the idea that Riddle might have to leave SmackDown for good. But we got no interference from the Usos or Heyman, just this fair contest really. Like, all that was on the line was the title shot next week. And that is fine overall, because Zayn and Riddle work great together, with both men busting out some big crowd-pleasing bits, especially as they both started to play off Orton's moveset to hype up the crowd, building to this RKO Helluva Kick counter that got Riddle the victory. And then the Usos arrive for the beatdown, only to be battered away with kendo sticks by a fired-up Riddle, who runs them off before posing to close out the show. Great match. A little bit weird in the story department. And SmackDown's weird running order issues overall just continue to boggle my mind, and it's definitely a little lacking in the surprise department, with most matches feeling a bit like foregone conclusion, but that is a small enough gripe when the wrestling's actually good. Drew Sheamus and Rousey Shotzi brought serious aggression, while Gunther Ricochet and Zayn Riddle are pairings that I just want to see more of, and just had that little spark of old school NXT magic, which I do always appreciate. Does Pete usually do a rating? I don't know, I'm not actually going to bother looking it up. I'm just going to say 4, or like B+, or silver star sticker, a thumbs up emoji.
What's going on, WrestleTalk friends and fans? Tempest is back with another review of AEW Rampage in about 3 minutes. So this show started with what might have been the least amount of time from opening second to opening bell, as Eddie Kingston took on Jake Hager within probably the first 20 seconds of this show. I really don't know what to say about this match. It was fine. For as much as I love Eddie Kingston, I'm also pretty apathetic about Jake Hager, and they balanced each other out in this match. Hager really didn't look like he enjoyed taking Eddie Kingston's chops. He hit a bunch of suplexes and then eventually lost to a pair of spinning back fists. Again, it wasn't poorly wrestled. Jake Hager's just not that interesting, but I love Eddie Kingston, so it gets a 3. We then had the in-ring debut of Satnam Singh as he and Jay Lethal took on Davey Vega and Matt Fidget. I think the best way to describe this was that it just passed the threshold of acceptable. This was not the debut of Hook by any means. This was not some great impressive showing for Satnam Singh. He hit a very slow crossbody that did look serviceable, but he didn't really do much more than that. Now, to be fair, I was not expecting him to do more than that by any means, and he did not mess up anything to a great degree, but it's also very clear that this man has a long way to go. Jay Lethal tagged in and hit a double lethal injection for the win, and then after the match, Satnam Singh hit like a spinning powerbomb type move on Fidget, which I demand be called the Fidget Spinner. I don't care that those things were in 5 years ago. I don't really know what this accomplished, if I'm being honest. Satnam Singh is not at the level to be performing on national television just yet, and it doesn't seem like he's going to get there in the immediate future, so I really don't know which matches I'm supposed to look forward to seeing him in. I would be surprised if we saw Satnam Singh in another match in the near future that wasn't a 6 or 8 or 10-man tag, because I mean, really, what more can you do with him right now besides a match like we got tonight? I'll give it a 2 out of 5. It wasn't like terrible, it just wasn't anything. Hookhausen both have golf carts, and then we got the next match in the series between Chris Statlander and Red Velvet. Honestly, I thought these two had a really strong match here. I like this match even better than their tournament match. Statlander showed off her power in this match, carrying Red Velvet on her back up the steps and over the top rope before Red Velvet was able to escape a vertical suplex attempt and take out Chris Statlander's surgically repaired knee. There were a lot of very close, very good near falls in this match, including the O'Connor roll into the German suplex, which may be my favorite spot in wrestling. I mean, that's not true, but it's up there. However, Statlander was able to pick up the win after hitting another pump handle Friday Night Fever, and after the match she was attacked by the baddies before being rescued by Anna Jay. Rescued might be a stretch. Anna Jay tried to help, and then when Athena tried to come down to help as well, she was detained by security, and it definitely looks like we'll be getting a 6-woman tag team match of some sort in the near future. That match should be very good. I'm looking forward to it very much. These two just seem to get better and better every time they're in the ring together, and this match was no exception to that. It makes me look forward to seeing what they do in the ring next, and maybe that next time will be for a championship. This match gets a 4 out of 5. I thought it was the best thing on the show to this point. We had a video package highlighting the return of Miro, and then we had an excellent promo from Ethan Page where he says that he believes in Ethan Page and he prays at Ethan Page. You know, as we all do before Hockey Night in Canada as our daily ritual. If he was facing anybody but Miro in the first round, he would have my undying support. Even so, bring it home, Ethan. And then we got the main event trios matches. FTR and Trent took on Aussie Open and Will Ospreay. First time I've ever reviewed a Will Ospreay match. While I have been thoroughly underwhelmed with the build to Forbidden Door so far, this match did give me the opportunity to see Will Ospreay take on Dax Harwood, and that makes me very grateful. Trent tweaked his knee on an Acai moonsault to the outside. I guess that's redundant, isn't it? Trent tweaked his knee on an Acai moonsault, and it was that injury that would keep him sidelined for most of the rest of the match. For the most part, this was just fun tag action between two of the best tag teams on earth. Aussie Open and FTR need to have just a straight up 2-on-2 tag team match in the near future, and while I don't need to see that at Forbidden Door specifically, I wouldn't mind it. Everyone here once again traded near falls, with Will Ospreay hitting an Os Cutter for a near fall and then a 450 splash for another near fall, but eventually it was actually Trent who managed to get the pin for his team. Ultimately, as everyone eliminated themselves and paired off with someone else on the outside, Kyle Fletcher went for a Canadian Destroyer on Trent, who caught him with a strong 0, getting the pin in an excellent main event. I will give this main event a 5 out of 5, and I am very much looking forward to seeing what comes next on AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage, because I need more with only 2 weeks left before Forbidden Door, please and thanks. I can't say I really understand the logic of giving Trent the win in this match. I mean, if I was booking, you'd probably want to have Will Ospreay win his first match in AEW, right? I understand that this wasn't his first singles match or anything, but why did Trent need to get the win here? Maybe that question will answer itself. Maybe it won't. For the time being, I don't understand it. I'm gonna give this show a 4 out of 5. It wasn't the best episode of Rampage, but I really enjoyed the last 2 matches. And that just about wraps it up for me. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this show and last night's Smackdown, make sure you go over to WrestleTalk Podcast later on today, where myself and Lori Blake will be going over both shows in complete detail. And until then, I don't know, have a happy Father's Day. That's this weekend, right? No, it's next weekend. Damn it, I need to have a calendar in this room. I'm Tempest, hailing from Parts Fun Known, and this is how AEW made Wardlow a perfect monster babyface. So for anyone unfamiliar with the ascent of Warren Wardlow, here's a quick roundup of everything you need to know. Vignettes air promoting the arrival of Wardlow, an unknown signing at the time. He debuts in November 2019 as the bodyguard of MJF,